Was it a conscious decision or a momentary lapse of reason? How did progress take priority over humankind? How could the desire for a modern way of life that threatens our future be considered a way of life? Could it be we are connected to all things in the universe, not the center of it? That suburbs in Los Angeles affect the melting ice caps of Antarctica. Deforestation in the Congo affects the typhoons of Japan. Now we must face the insurmountable challenges for what they really are. Opportunities to reinvent and redesign. E squared, the economies of being environmentally conscious.
Mankind is the only animal that doesn't reuse. We're the only ones that somehow developed a way of using material where it ends up on a big mountain. While in nature it's normal to reuse. Everything is wasted in nature, but it's not wasted. It becomes food for the next cycle again. And that's normal. And the only abnormal thing is mankind in this.
Obviously there's a big problem about the waste at the moment. I mean, the huge amounts that there are. So many people are looking for solutions to the problems that there are. Holland is actually quite sufficient in a way in dealing with waste that it has set up huge recycling programs and so on. But actually what we saw was the materials are being treated in a way, so they are still chopped and made into smaller pieces and remelted again, while we saw the qualities of the materials as they are and tried to integrate them immediately.
The amount of waste is growing every year, and the cost of new building materials is rising even more, maybe. By putting the reuse of materials on the agenda more and more seriously, you might get freedom at the end to do what you want, because it opens all these new possibilities.
They are real good architects. They came with their design, and this is precisely what I have done my whole life. I'm a child from the Second World War, and my whole life exists from using used things. And I know this process of using things, it is possible that you develop it more and more. This is only the start. But, well, for me, I hope this is the beginning of a new way of thinking by architects.
Based in Rotterdam, a city leveled in World War II and then rebuilt, Architecture 2012's proposed reuse plan was familiar to Ingrid Blands. And though 2012 was confident they could complete the villa project, it was an evolutionary leap forward from the smaller experiments and art projects they had started with.
Jan and me started working on 2012 in 1997, and at that point we understood that we had to develop a way of working and a theory and the knowledge to be able to integrate reused materials into architecture. So after some time we decided we had to show practically what we meant. We gathered 20 washing machines and we built a space station out of that. But the object was made from modules, so we could generate different sizes of space and different forms of space with that space station.
After that, it moved to several places on exhibitions. And then in the last instance, it was bought by the Faculty of Architecture in Delft to turn it into an espresso bar.
A year ago, I started here as a dean of this Faculty of Architecture, and I had the idea to combine two things. One is to have good coffee, and the coffee in this building was not good. So I asked them, do you have an idea of an espresso bar? And 2012 said, now we can reuse our Miele space station, but I must say this espresso bar, it's a living education, you can say. You see what it is, and you have questions, and then it starts. There's a kind of humor in the work. Architecture is not always serious, it's also laughing.
I don't like if you walk to an object that we made and the first thing you think is, washing machines. But if the first thing you think is, hey, a space station, and then you come closer and you touch the door and you think, I know this door, I'm using it every day. It's a washing machine. Then I think it's succeeded.
Generally, architects, they have a big project in their mind and then they work it out and make a final design and then find the proper materials to make that vision real. But what we do is we look at the materials that are there and incorporate them in the project that we have and actually develop the design from the materials and the surroundings that we have. So it's kind of backwards thinking in that way.
Because they want to work and get inspired by things they find, junk or no junk, they need to rethink the design process. They get the question of a client, and then what they are going to do first is shop around among the junk, and they find things, get inspired by that. Well, maybe we can use this for that or this for that. And then the whole idea of the use of the building and how to order it comes out of the things they find. And this is more of a laboratory kind of a way of working.
After the space station, we were hired to do a commercial interior for a shoe shop. It's in a pretty small space, so there's not a kind of storage space in the shop which is separated from the shop. And in order to build that storage, we used car windshields, just put into a stainless steel frame which carries them. There is a window frame manufacturer which is close to our workshop. They have a lot of small pieces of waste wood, and from that 2 seats were built where people can sit and fit their shoes. And in the middle of that there is a small conveyor belt coming from a supermarket. So you can actually fit your shoes on the walking conveyor belt.
I can see like my whole outfit with the shoes. So it's really, it's really fun to work here, and people can see what I'm wearing. So like all the customers, and then I can show the shoes, and or you like it or not. Yeah. And
I'm a real Dutch guy, you know. I'm yes, normal, you know. How do you say that? Be normal, you're crazy enough already, you know. When I walk by, I think, hey, there's a nice store. Looks good, looks new, looks, different. It's the way how you use it. You can let it look like junk, but you can let it look like, nice things. It's how creative you are, I think. And if you can catch people with it, I think that's okay.
the first reaction was like, wow, see those sofa and what is it? And then they just asked me questions about how the store is made from. And then, of course, I want to sell shoes also. So you have something to talk about. Yeah.
The way of production and consumption is, at this moment, generates enormous amount of materials which are disposed of every year. And for instance, for car tires, we know that at this moment in Holland we have 6 million car tires per year disposed of, but worldwide it's 6 billion per year. So it's an enormous amount of potentially reusable material. But what we found out when we started our office is that it's actually not that easy to find the proper waste for a project that you're doing. So we did certain tools in order to be able to work with waste. And one of the tools that we developed was a harvest map. And a harvest map actually shows in the neighborhood of a project what kind of materials are available to you on what distance. We know that about 25% of traffic in Holland is building related. So when you can cut down on traffic, you really make an interesting step.
2012's next client needed structures that were modular, easy to move, and made from abundant local materials. Worm was an artist collective limited to a 2-year stay in their free space, and 2012 used their harvest map technique to help them retrofit the structure.
Worm is another of these Rotterdam-based, let's say, artists groups. They used these for free spaces somewhere in the harbor area, and they had to get out there because, of course, after 3 years you have to get out, you have to find a new free space somewhere else. So again, new free space, but we are tired of this movement. Can you think of something for us that we can take with us when we have to move again?
And then they got offered this building, which is a monument. So you're not allowed to make holes, you're not allowed to change the structure of the building, but you have to comply to all the regulations. So we made the outline, we made the basic structure, but we gave basically the assignment to the people building it. The only thing I told them was, like, it has to be 90% waste, and preferably just one material.
And the end result is about 1,000 square meters, which has a bar, a small cinema, a concert venue. We've got a shop downstairs, and also there are studios and office spaces where artists can work and where we have our very dull office life. A lot of it we got out of buildings ourselves, so we had a demolish team and we had a construction team working at the same time over here to get this done. They drew all the principles of constructing the walls and how we could do that and where there should be doors. And then we asked 6 artists to create furniture inside the building. So a guy made toilets with tanks, fluid tanks that they use for shipping oil, gasoline or water. A guy made a bar with this rest material wood, and it's about 1.5 kilometers of recycled wood. So you can imagine the enormous amount of wood is here.